All right, so I'm starting, I think it's day 6 now. Leaving Valença, I think heading to Moss today, which is a little less than 16 miles. Now, I'm actually kind of sad to leave Valença. It's such a cool town in this fortress, and my hostel bulwark was so nice, so cozy. I did not want to get up, but yeah, I did end up getting up pretty early, a little bit before 5 a.m., just because I'm trying to go to the Municipal Albergue in Moss, and I want to get there around when they open at 1 p.m. because they only have around 35 beds, I think. So just want to make sure I get there in time to snag one of the spots. But yeah, it is now 5:30 here in Portugal, but I'm about to cross over the border, and once I do, I will be in Spain, and it will be 6:30. So that's going to take some getting used to. And yesterday, I really had a lovely time in this town. I got in around noon and didn't realize my hostel didn't let you check in until 3, so went ahead and got a really nice lunch. I had a pilgrim's meal, and this one actually came with 3 courses, so I had a nice soup. Then I chose the fish, which came with salad, rice, and french fries, and then they gave me some kind of flan for dessert. To drink, I had Vinho Verde, which is a very typical wine from Portugal, and then I still had a lot of time to kill, so I ordered a second glass and just sat there for a while before checking in, and then, spent a lot of time just enjoying the bed and getting some reading in. Sorry, it's so pretty. I had to take a photo. But yeah, then I just did something easy for dinner. There was a place that had, I think they were calling it like menu do dia, like menu of the day. But it was just like a jamon iberico sandwich with chips. So that was perfect for me since I had such a huge lunch and I wanted to make sure I went to bed early. And yeah, now walking out of Valença, and I am excited to see Tui, which is the Spanish city right across the river. These cities have an interesting history because way back in the day, when Spain and Portugal were more enemies and kind of keeping an eye on each other, that's why this town was built like this fortress that it is, which is kind of cool. So when you walk over the bridge from Valença to Tui, my guidebook recommended walking on the right side. That way you can get views. The path kind of initially takes you on the left, and you need to cross. I don't even think there's really a crosswalk to go on the right. I mean, it was no problem for me at 5:30 in the morning. But sadly, there weren't any views because it's just still so early and kind of that foggy, misty kind of look, But it is cool just to see that bridge. Apparently it was inspired by the Eiffel Tower or something like that. So kind of cool to see and just walk along. It was maybe a little bit freaky, like I'm pretty scared of heights. So I went pretty fast on the bridge, but it's not too bad, there's a railing, of course, and everything.
Now I'm just so excited to be in Spain. I studied abroad here 10 years ago, and it's been such a special place to me ever since. I want to move here eventually, so it does feel a bit like coming home. I'm just really excited to be back speaking Spanish and can't wait to get some of my favorite foods like patatas bravas and tostada con tomate y aceite. As much as I loved Valença, it was really cool walking through Tui's medieval streets too, and I can definitely see why some pilgrims stop here. I bet this is a really fun city to explore. Sadly, it was pretty early, so nothing was open when I was walking through, so, I'd really love to come back and visit again one day. The walk out of Tui was really lovely at first, but then there was quite a ways where I did have to walk alongside a highway. Luckily, there weren't too many cars coming by, but, it's never the most ideal scenery on the Camino. Thankfully, the trail did enter back into nature for a little bit, and then I did see a marker memorializing the patron saint of Tui, San Telmo, who allegedly passed away at this location during his pilgrimage in 1251. Along the way, I did reach a point where you have two choices for your path. You can either continue straight or turn left. I had heard the left path is much better because it's a more scenic route through the woods, whereas the other way is much more urban. So I decided to go left and was glad that I did. Originally, I had thought about walking all the way to Redondela, but it seemed a bit far, and then honestly, I got a little scared looking at the elevation profile for that day and didn't want to hit so many hills, and, just thought it would be way too much, so decided to walk to Moss instead. And honestly, I'm feeling really pretty tired today, so I'm really glad that I won't be going so far. By the time I reached O Porriño, I decided to stop for a quick lunch break and had a really delicious croissant sandwich at Restaurante Paso a Nivel. Some pilgrims choose to spend the night in O Porriño. It's a fairly large city for the Camino, so there are a number of places to stay here, so that's something you can keep in mind as you're thinking about your route. Leaving O Porriño, I was definitely feeling even more tired. You are walking alongside roads the rest of the way to Moss, so there's not a lot of tree coverage, but at least it is pretty quiet alongside these roads, especially once you get out of O Porriño, and I did find the views to be really quite scenic. By the time I made it to Moss, the albergue was just opening, and all day I felt so worried about getting a bed, and it just so happened that I was the very first one there and no one else showed up for quite a while, so I didn't really have too much of a reason to worry. I think some folks even were showing up at 5-6 p.m., but you just never know when it comes to municipal albergues, so I was glad to get there early, have some extra time to relax and rest. I ended up having a really lovely afternoon and evening in this quiet little mountain village, and I'm really glad that I stopped there. That's all I have for now, folks. If you liked this video, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more videos on my journey along the Camino Portugués.